The European Asset Register. What's really behind it? We want to inform you and shed light on what governments are planning behind the scenes. Be vigilant and well prepared. The European Union is planning to introduce a central asset register. This register is intended to combat tax evasion, money laundering, and terrorist financing more effectively. The EU hopes that the central recording of assets will lead to more transparency in the financial system and fairer taxation. The plan is to record all assets of EU citizens that exceed a certain threshold in this register. This threshold has not yet been set in stone, but is expected to be around €200,000. The data is to be collected from various sources, including land registers, commercial registers, banks, and tax offices. The introduction of the European Asset Register is a complex undertaking that involves both technical and legal challenges. The EU Commission is currently in the feasibility phase and is examining whether the data collection and linking is technically and legally feasible. The results of this study are expected shortly and should shed light on whether and how the register can be implemented. It can be assumed that the introduction of the register will meet with resistance, as it could have far-reaching consequences for the privacy and rights of citizens. The European Asset Register is intended to provide a comprehensive picture of the assets of EU citizens. To this end, various types of assets are to be recorded, including real estate, securities, cryptocurrencies, gold, and company shares. Real estate represents one of the most important asset classes and is therefore to be recorded in detail in the asset register. In addition to the value of the property, information about the owner, the location, and the use of the property is to be stored in the register. Another focus is on the recording of securities, as these often offer a loophole for tax evasion. Stocks, bonds, investment funds, and other securities are to be recorded in the register and assigned to the respective owners. Cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin and Ethereum are also to be recorded in the asset register. The increasing importance of cryptocurrencies makes it difficult for authorities to track illegal financial flows. The asset register is intended to help close this gap. In addition to the asset classes mentioned, other assets that represent a high value are also to be recorded. These include, for example, gold, works of art, vintage cars, and life insurance policies. The introduction of the European Asset Register is associated with some challenges and criticisms. What are they hiding from you? Critics complain about the high effort and costs associated with setting up and operating the register. The collection, linking, and storage of data from various sources poses an enormous technical challenge. The legal feasibility of the register is also disputed. Data protectionists see the privacy of citizens at risk due to the comprehensive collection of asset data. The question arises as to whether the encroachment on the fundamental rights of citizens is justified by the objective of combating financial crime. Another point of criticism concerns the risk of data misuse. Critics fear that the data stored in the register could fall into the wrong hands and be misused by criminals or corrupt officials. The EU Commission must ensure that the data is protected from unauthorized access and is only used for the intended purposes. The debate on the European Asset Register shows that combating financial crime and safeguarding citizens' rights must not be mutually exclusive. The EU Commission must find a middle ground to reconcile the legitimate security interests of citizens with the protection of privacy. Data protection and citizens' rights in focus. Your rights are at stake. The planned introduction of the European Asset Register raises many questions about data protection and citizens' rights. What does this mean for your freedom? Critics fear that the comprehensive collection and storage of asset data represents a disproportionate encroachment on the privacy of citizens. A central concern of critics is the risk of data misuse. The data stored in the register could be misused for criminal activities, extortion, or discrimination. The EU Commission must ensure that access to the data is strictly regulated and only authorized persons are allowed access for legitimate purposes. Another point of criticism concerns the informational self-determination of citizens. Every individual has the right to decide for themselves what information they disclose about themselves. The introduction of the asset register could restrict this right, as sensitive data about assets would be collected and stored without the express consent of the data subjects. The EU Commission must take the concerns about data protection and citizens' rights seriously and take appropriate precautions. The introduction of such a sensitive instrument as the European Asset Register must not come at the expense of the fundamental rights of citizens. The significance of the debate for the future of the EU. The future of the EU and your role in it. Are you prepared? The debate on the European Asset Register highlights the challenges that come with digitalization and increasing connectivity. The EU is faced with the task of finding a balance between security interests and the protection of fundamental rights. The introduction of the Asset Register is often presented as a measure against financial crime and tax evasion. But is that really all it is about? Or is it an attempt to exert more control over individual citizens? Many citizens are concerned about data protection and the potential invasion of their privacy. Critics argue that the collection of assets could lead to a surveillance state. Combating financial crime is necessary to ensure trust in the financial markets. At the same time, the EU must not neglect the fundamental rights of its citizens. The protection of privacy and informational self-determination are central achievements of the European legal order. The EU must ensure that the introduction of new instruments to combat crime does not lead to an erosion of these rights. It is important to take these concerns seriously and discuss them comprehensively. It is important that citizens are involved in this process and can contribute their concerns and suggestions. Only through a transparent and democratic discourse can a balance be struck between security interests and the protection of fundamental rights. If you would like to learn more about the implications of the European Asset Register, or would like individual advice, we offer a paid initial consultation. Visit our website nobordersfounder.com and subscribe to our social media channels such as YouTube and Instagram to stay in touch. Activate the bell to receive notifications about new videos. Contact us for a professional and exclusive initial consultation. You want to learn more? We are here for you.